like to go over the changes I've made to my 2014 Chevrolet Caprice PPV over the last few days. Been quite busy, not a lot of video taken. I've taken some pictures of the vehicle as it's been in its various states of repair and undress, if you might call it that. One thing you'll notice here is the trunk lid. If you're looking real close, you'll see that there's a backup camera in this particular one, and that's from a 17 Caprice, as well as some of the other parts I've sourced from a local wrecking yard that has a 17 Caprice. But backup cameras installed, or the trunk lid's installed and aligned. I've got the wiring harness from Steve Walker on newcaprice.com, and I installed that along the passenger side, ran that along the wiring harnesses there. And from the back to the front, we can see the path selected, and I zip tied it to the existing wiring harness wherever there wasn't a protective covering. Otherwise, I included it into the plastic protective covering wherever possible. And then I ran it up to the kick panel, brought it up to the side of the dash, and then ran it along the wiring harness that's in the middle of the dash over to the center. Then included the two wires into the connector for the back of the radio head unit. Used a new tap to get in the green wire for the reverse lights configured, and he gave me a connector to tap into the aux battery harness, which I had removed the hardware on this particular vehicle. The other thing I installed is a dash camera, and I have a battery pack up there for the parking mode support of that, which I have the Thinkware F800 Pro 2-channel camera installed, and that battery pack supports the parking mode for that. And integrating the relay system for charging, for the high amp charging of that, I installed that yesterday. It took me a little bit of time to find a fused socket that had power and was switched, and I finally found one. So got that installed so that it properly detects when it goes into parking mode, to go into parking mode. A switched fuse socket is needed for two purposes. One, to identify when the vehicle's ignition system is turned off, so that the battery pack can identify the fact that the power has been removed, to then notify the dash camera to go into parking mode. And two, I'm actually driving the charging of the battery pack not directly from this fuse, but this fuse is being used to drive a relay, which then, when the relay is activated by the switched power, it then connects the Cellink B battery pack to the battery through a fused line directly. This allows me to configure the Cellink B to charge at the 7 amp rate, which reduces the charge time from 0 to 100% charge in approximately 40 minutes. And you'll notice that the rear camera for the dash cam is here. And on the third brake light, I fixed the foam around the edge, which was completely, it was so brittle it was just breaking off. So I fixed that while I was there. Added the third brake light pulser, which I'll give you a demonstration of that feature in a little bit later in the video. And for the dash camera, I ran the wiring on this side through the plastic, underneath the trim pieces, and the plastic covers were appropriate for the wiring harnesses that were already there. And the rear seats back in place, which I had before, but the front seats are the replacement seats that I obtained from the 17 Caprice. The backs of them have no tears or anything like the other ones. The front seat cushions are much better shape than the original seats in this vehicle. And the center console work hasn't been done yet because I still need to remove the silver box to send it off for reprogramming to get the backup camera enabled. But I'll do that after I get a couple more things done. I'm going to get some rekeying of the vehicle, fob updates, and I'm going to try to get a new calibration for the body control module so that it will re-enable the rear door window switches and also re-enable the daytime running lights and auto headlights. I think it was RPO code VVS, which this one has, so hopefully I can get that done. And then I can then go pull the silver box out and get it updated so that I have a backup camera. And mine does have a Sirius XM receiver in it, so I'll try to add the appropriate antenna at some point to enable that as well. So I cleaned out a bunch of stuff while I had the seats out, and I found another live shell underneath the driver's seat, underneath the rubber mat flooring, so I got that cleaned up, luckily, without having any problems. I replaced the driver's door panel because the one I had a tear in the leatherette here. So I've replaced that with the one from that 17 Caprice. And as I showed you the other, I think last week, I got the door gaps so the doors open and close without hitting the fenders. I tried cleaning the headlights, which I mentioned before, and that didn't work well, so hopefully when I get the replacements in a few weeks, for several weeks. I'll get those swapped out. And let's see, what else have I gotten done here? The front here, we can see the dash camera on the front of the windshield here. That's again my Thinkware F800 Pro 2-channel, which I took out of my Chevy SS before I sold it. And that's functional. And the seats, actually the passenger seat on the 17 has this updated design where for the pass-through of the cabling of the seat belts. That was one difference I noticed. But the cushions are in nice good shape, and also the seat buckles are in good shape, and I can actually buckle this one on the driver's side now and eliminate the seatbelt warning that I was getting before. And the center console will get installed once I get the silver box pulled out and reprogrammed and reinstalled. And I'm still trying to get the vendor to give me the shipping and info for the part that I ordered for that. I don't know if they shipped it or not. I'm beginning to wonder because they're telling me just to wait, and it's been almost 3 weeks, but we'll follow up on that and try to get that resolved. And the other thing, of course, related to the rear doors is I went inside and luckily I found the cables for the latch were just stuck inside the water barrier, so I pulled them out and reconnected those, so those are functional again. So that's what I've been doing the last several days, trying to make it more like a real car on the inside. The thing I'm doing today is I'm going to be working on the brake rotors and pads will be replaced all the way around, and the front wheel hub assemblies will be getting replaced. So let's take a look at what I've got up on the table here. And you can see I went with the PowerStop Z23 packages on front and rear. Here's the front, and there's my AC Delco wheel hub assemblies, the replacement bolts for the front, caliper mounting bracket. It says in the service manual that I have from All Data DIY that the rears can be reused and just cleaned off and put new thread locker on, so I'm going to do that. And then here's the rears. So I've got a lot of work ahead of me today, hopefully not as much as I was doing the other days here, but it's turning into a real car finally. I can drive in the rain and the wiper blades work. That plastic trim is installed as I showed you in the other video. Clean cabin air filter, and hopefully after today, some decent performing brakes. I'm going to do the brake bleed tomorrow. I'm going to do a 2-person bleed, get the assistance of my daughter and have her be the pumper on the brakes, and go from there. Here's an example of the third brake light pulser that I installed on the Caprice yesterday. This is the same product that I installed in my Chevrolet SS sedan, and I actually have it installed on my Chevy SSR pickup as well. The purpose of this is to alert the drivers behind you that you're applying the brakes, but it only pulses the first application within the last 10 or 15 seconds of applying the brake pedal. So here's a demonstration of them being applied. Now if we let off and wait about 5-6 seconds here and reapply, you'll notice that it stays steady, it doesn't pulse again. But if we wait 10 to 15 seconds here, you'll notice that the brake pulser will pulse again. So this is a nice feature so that it doesn't annoy the vehicles behind you, that having it pulse every single time you apply the brake pedal. So now let's go ahead and apply it again, and it should pulse again. And on the next episode of my Caprice project build on my YouTube channel, you'll see me replacing the wheel hub assemblies and brake rotors and pads all the way around the car. The bolts for the caliper mounting brackets that I showed you earlier, I thought they were for the front. Ended up, those are actually the ones for the rear, so that was one complication. So I ended up reusing the ones for the front, but cleaning them up and using some thread locker on them. And the other complication was when I got into the rear rotor replacements, I pulled the rotors off and the parking brake shoes basically fell off the inner metal ring. Some were in chunks. It was quite surprising to what I found there. So that was a slight snag. I had to go out and get some of those to complete the brake installation. So if you like this content, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification to be notified when I upload new videos to the channel. And I hope you enjoy the content, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.